Good morning from beautiful Sam Rayburn Reservoir. It's January the 21st, 2018. My report from yesterday. And for those of you who might be watching this way out in the future, this past week here at Rayburn, we had super cold temperatures. Actually, probably some of the lowest temperatures we've seen in at least the last 5 years, maybe longer than that. It was in the teens a couple of nights here, and with days that didn't get above freezing. So it was a pretty hard impact. Actually, I was surprised it didn't change the water temperature that much, but it was a really cold week. And then yesterday turned off much warmer. The warmest day had been in about a week. Temperature got into the 60s, started in the 40s. It was actually a pretty pleasant day. Had a pretty good south wind, which kept the air temperature up, and it's doing the same thing again today, Sunday. So we fished bass champs yesterday, and we fished bass champs yesterday, and basically we did the same thing we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, and that is just running about 4 different groups of grass fish that we've been catching. And as you've seen over and over, we've been catching 12-ish pound limits that looked a whole lot like these fish right here.
How about that skinny one? Nah, it wasn't cold enough to matter.
I don't think so either. That one ate it as I brought it up. Man, that fish is cold. He won't help us, will he?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your brother fishing any?
No.
He got a boat?
No.
Hit the button, hit the button, hit the button.
Trout fish.
Come on now.
In the mouth too, buddy. I think that's a fish.
Well, it just mushed up on me.
Is it going to cold?
I don't know. Throw it here in a second.
Swing it?
I'm gonna swing it. Once he gets a lot bigger pretty soon, I'm gonna swing it. We'll hope so.
I don't think so.
Look at that. I think he ate it. Got it across the face. Where did he say his scales were?
One back, one front.
Oh, he was not hooked good. I mean, he was hooked good, but he was all in skin. With his meat on him. Huh?
Did I?
I picked it up and I wouldn't give it back. So we basically did that through the day, and we were able to catch a couple of better fish. We caught 3 fish in the 3-pound range. One of those fish was on a trap, one of those fish was on an A-rig, and then one of those fish was actually on a square bill, which kind of got me thinking to what happened later in the day. These fish, even the fish we caught, where they had been just knocking slack in your line, it was basically feel like you just got kind of hung up in the grass, feel like you were fighting a wet towel in. So we sort of postulated that maybe those fish had gotten, the cold air and the pressure change had whacked them in the head, at least the shallow fish we're fishing for. And so we made a change later in the day. But so at about 11:30 we had, we also had an issue yesterday. We had a motor lay down on us. So we lost about an hour of our time. Thank you so much to Steve Evans for bringing us a boat and so we could continue fishing. But we lost about an hour of time, which of course hurt us. But once we got in his boat, which is why some of that footage is in his boat, we were able to sort of cull through the day. We caught 12 keepers, but we went out deep because we felt like probably that's where we was going to have to go to catch a big fish, and once again we couldn't do that. Now, Brian and Danny caught a giant stringer. Congratulations, guys. That's 31 pounds is impressive on a good day on Rayburn, much less yesterday. And then Harold and his young partner, they also had a great day, and Harold did really well. Actually, Harold won the Triple T last weekend at Toledo, so obviously he's got confidence in something right now that's working on both lakes. My guess would be something deep. Harold's what I would call sort of an old river hole worm fisherman. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but he likes to fish deep, and so that's working out great. We went out deep and really didn't catch much at all. We caught a couple of small fish that didn't help us, a couple of Kentuckies, and not as deep as we had historically caught them this time of year. The bites we were able to catch were all in sort of the 12 to 17, 18 foot range. But late in the day, we got up around some grass fish that I knew were there. And one of my favorite things to do, or one of my favorite cold water baits to throw, is a little DT Rapala bait. And I picked up a DT6 and basically was just almost fishing it like a worm, just sort of walking it through the grass, and was able to catch a 4-pounder. It was raining at that point, so I didn't have my GoPro out. But caught a 4-pound fish, and of course that culled us from, we were probably right at 13.5 pounds, which surprisingly was in check range. I had set the over-under with Dickie yesterday morning at 17.10 to get a check, and he took that over, and it was barely 13, just over 13 pounds got a check. And so I won my $20 I lost last weekend at the Texas Team Trail back from him. But caught that fish on that little crankbait, and I'm going to try to expand on that. I'm not going to fish a long day today, but I'm going to try to expand on that little crankbait pattern a little bit today. And there doesn't seem to be many big fish shallow. Obviously, when you look at the results, when it doesn't take more than 13.5 pounds to get a check on Rayburn in the springtime, there's not a lot of fish shallow, because most of us do fish shallow. But even some of the deep guys, and that's really surprising. Clint Wade didn't catch, he didn't weigh his fish, or I don't know what he had, but he's one of the best draggers on the lake. Ben Matsuba, one of the best guys, and interestingly, when Danny and Brian catch him, Ben always catches them. And I know what Ben was at the weigh-in yesterday. He didn't get a check, I don't think. So surprising. Obviously, the fish aren't everywhere, and it was tough. And it's going to be tough for a couple more days. We've got a little warming trend, but then it's going to get cold again. So, but I'm going to try to expand on that little crankbait pattern today. Feel around, go look at some other fish. Kind of like I've talked about in the past. We're catching fish where we catch fish, but we go through areas where historically we've caught fish and we don't do anything. So the fish just aren't active everywhere. Some of the best looking grass on the lake right now we can't get bit out of. So I don't, my report to you would be we're still fishing around the grass, but if you're a good deep water structure fisherman, there's obviously some 30+ pound stringers to be had out there if you're good at that. I consider myself pretty good, but not to those guys' levels. And I asked Brian yesterday at the weigh, and I said, I just shaking my head. I said, are you guys, going back to the same fish, or are you finding different groups of fish? And his comment was that, they had 5, 6, 7 places they kind of cycled through. And he said that one of their big fish yesterday was on a spot they hadn't caught a fish off of in 3 years. So that tells you a lot about keeping an open mind and not necessarily just fishing where you've caught fish, which again we did yesterday. We made several passes through areas that we hadn't caught fish in this year, and they didn't bite for us, but they did for those guys. So congratulations to Danny and Brian. Great stringer, great win for you guys. Danny, you told us you retired. Go retire. We're tired of giving you money. But we'll poke around out here a little bit today, maybe get some on the water footage. It's sort of spit and rain a little bit, but I've got my cover for my GoPro, so if it does, we won't have audio, but we'll have video of it. And we'll just see what we can do today. But again, I still think the grass fish are here. The grass has laid down a little bit, but I'm gonna continue staying shallow because in my mind I'm practicing for Costa, which apparently I'm on the waiting list to get in. If anybody wants to be a co-angler in Costa, please holler at me, because I think pretty soon, and you hadn't paid, I think pretty soon they're going to require me to have a co-angler to get in, and I do want to fish it. So please reach out to me. KenSmithFishing@outlook.com is my email address. And of course, all my videos are posted at my website, KenSmithFishing.com as well. But I need a co-angler, so somebody please help me out. Thanks, guys, and be safe. Talk to you soon. I don't know how many of you guys have ever seen Autochart live in action, but this looks like something, and it may not be, but it looks like something I've never noticed before when I'm running into an area. So it looks to me like I've got a creek here and a creek here tees into it, but the map's not that great. And it's a good map, but it's not that great. So I'm gonna idle this and watch what happens as I idle this. So what I do is I go menu, Autochart live on, and it's gonna start mapping it for me. So check this out. Oops, pulled my kill switch. Isn't that wild how it shifts those contour lines as it learns? So it's taking that bit of data and combining it with that bit of data and creating a new map. It is the coolest thing. And watch, it'll even redefine these lines as I go across this area again. So what I've got is I've got a really pronounced creek swing right there that was not on my other map. So what you saw me, I opened this to see if I had my Autochart zero lines card in there, and I don't. It's in the front unit because that's the one I use it in most of the time. But I could actually take this data, put it on my Autochart zero line card, take it home, convert it on my PC, and create my own map on my PC of this area. Or if that Autochart's line card is in here. So this unit has a finite amount of storage space, but with the Autochart card you increase that space exponentially, and I can have that map sort of forever on whichever unit that Autochart card live is, so that when I want to come in here and fish it, I've got the actual created map of how this thing lays out. And if you leave Autochart live on, now granted it burns up your usage, it'll continue to define this further and further as you fish through there. So it's one of my favorite things about Autochart, about Humminbird products, is that they've got that all that stuff available to you. It's neat stuff. Hope that helps. Hope you enjoyed it. All right, so it's Sunday. It's about 1:45. I fished from 9 to 1:45. Pofers Bird Sanctuary, mouth of the canyons. Ran over here to Harvey, fished back of Harvey, Indian, and hog behind me. And I didn't catch crap. I threw a trap a lot. I threw an A-rig a lot. I picked up a swim bait a little bit. I picked up a swim jig a little bit. And so for those of you who are struggling down here, everything I've caught in the last couple tournaments have been on just a couple of little tiny places. Those fish seem to be staying. I hope they stay there, but they seem to be staying in place. But I fished a lot of really good water today and had 2 bites, and neither one of them were even keepers. 2 little bitty fish, both on a swim jig. And I would think that means they're trying to get up on top of the grass a little bit, but when they're 13 inches, it doesn't really matter what they're doing. So I fished actually pretty hard for the couple hours of fishing and just didn't catch them. So lots going to change. I know we got another front coming in this week, and I'll be back down, I think, for BFL next week, and I'm going skiing Sunday. I hadn't made up my mind for sure that I'm going to fish it, but that's my intent. So we'll be back out next weekend, do some more footage. And again, remember guys, I need a co-angler, if you would, for the FLW Costa event here on Rayburn. So if you want to
if you hadn't entered yet and want to be on the co-angler side, please reach out to me, Ken Smith, fishing@outlook.com. Thanks, guys, and have a good week.